One of the biggest challenges for all entrepreneurs, right, is just this idea of you're creating your own structure, and it can be really easy to run into burnout, especially when it's something that you care about so deeply. And especially at this moment in time, right, like there is this pressure of, okay, we must do as much as we can, but also this recognition that has come over the last year of, hey, we need to also be balanced and take care of ourselves. Otherwise, we're not able to do this work and sustain ourselves for our communities.
That was Dani Lopez, co-founder of Lulo. And this is Epicenter NYC. We connect our communities to news, information, and each other. I'm your host, Ambar Castillo. Across the country, millions of families rely on WIC to put healthy food on the table. It's a federal nutrition program for women, infants, and children. But using those benefits isn't always straightforward. Between strict rules, confusing checkout experiences, and fears fueled by misinformation, navigating WIC can feel like a full-time job. And as food insecurity rises and safety net programs come under political pressure, those challenges are only growing. That's where Dani Lopez comes in. Dani grew up translating for her mom in the South Bronx, not just language, but systems. She learned early how to get answers, fill out forms, and find the help her family needed. Today, she's turned that lived experience into Lulo, a free app designed to make WIC work better for the New York families it was built to serve. Today, I sit down with Dani to learn more about how Lulo helps thousands of moms track their benefits, plan their grocery trips, and access everything from diaper banks to discounted museum tickets. She also shares why building with, and not just for, low-income families is the key to making this work. Before we jump in, a quick message from our team.
Hi, I'm Mariana from the Epicenter NYC team with a quick health update. Flu, RSV, COVID, and stomach viruses are creating an epidemic, making public spaces, including schools, virus hotspots. Watch for norovirus symptoms like vomiting, RSV's sneezing and congestion, and the flu's high fevers and fatigue. Hydration, rest, and staying home when sick help keep families healthy. Protect your community. Wash your hands, clean surfaces, and keep up with vaccines. Need more info? Email hello@epicenter-nyc.com or text 917-818-2690.
Now back to the show. Here's my conversation with Dani.
I'm Dani Lopez. I'm from the Bronx, she, her pronouns, and I'm co-founder of Lulo.
Who do you serve with your service? What can you tell me about Lulo?
So for families that are eligible for the federal benefit program known as WIC, or Women, Infants, Children, who are struggling to fully redeem their food benefits because of just complicated program regulations, Lulo actually created a free tool designed with WIC families to help them quickly and easily identify their WIC foods so they can fully feed their families and also bring in more revenues into local economies.
How exactly does Lulo help, the average shopper who's uses WIC save time while shopping?
Yeah. So it's going to get a little in the weeds, but one of the things to know about WIC is that it's unique. So unlike SNAP or food stamps, which I think is a little more common, where you get a dollar amount, with WIC, families get a food package every month, and you have specific item allowances. So for example, New York State might give you 36 ounces of cereal, 32 ounces of yogurt, but it's only specific brands, flavors, and container sizes that are allowed. So it just becomes this kind of landmine of what can I get, what is correct, what's not. And so what we actually do with our free platform is have folks connect their WIC card, and then we show them, based on their unique benefits, all the products that are available to them so they can quickly and easily identify it. If you're running through the store, let's say you're someone like Jessica, right? She's a single mom like my mom was, right? Working and going to school in the evening. The last thing you have time to do is spend 2 hours scanning items one by one, trying to figure out what you can feed your baby. And so that's what we're able to do in English and in Spanish. And over 2,000 families across the state are using Lulo since we launched in the fall.
Yeah. And, since you mentioned being the child of a single mother who, was also using this program, I'm curious about that kind of personal story. But before that, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to what makes Lulo uniquely different from other WIC shopping apps out there, like the WIC To Go mobile app or WIC Shopper.
So there's a couple of things. So one, the main thing is that we are co-designed with WIC families. So at this point, over 125 families have been involved in the process with us. We also work with different WIC staff, WIC vendors. And so it's really coming up from the grassroots. All the existing solutions are usually kind of through state contracts. So there's not a lot of responsiveness, which is why they're not really meeting a lot of the needs families have, especially those who are not English speaking. And so that's one piece. The other thing that we do is we really take a holistic approach. And this is also coming from some of my own experience of, yes, growing up in the South Bronx, daughter of a single mom, and realizing, hey, specific benefits only cover one area. There are so many other holistic needs that we have. So Lulo is more than just a WIC shopping app. That's kind of like our primary value proposition, right? But we also connect families to food pantries, diaper banks, maternal mental health hotlines, free museum resources, kind of all these wraparounds that we know families are looking for, but often have a hard time finding.
In your partnership or in your co-creation with some of these families, what were some of the most common questions, concerns, feedback you were getting from them?
Yeah, so a lot of it was just kind of around the humps of WIC shopping. And so one of the things that we find really important is trying to combat this narrative of low expectations, right? And so often we see that the resources that we have in our communities aren't super high quality. There's not a lot of money put in. And so we kind of take this message of we don't have options, we don't have choice, we're not worth very much. And so with WIC, what has been really illuminating for families is saying like, hey, it's not just the Cheerios and the cornflakes and the government cheese. There's some really high quality products, like for example, Chobani Greek yogurt, which is higher in healthier fats and higher in protein and has flavors, is eligible, right? And so to be able to share, and literally this happened with one of our moms and we were doing some of the shopping with them in the winter, was just saying, oh, I didn't know I could feed my child that. Like they're just about to start eating this yogurt. There's not a lot that I necessarily can control in my life, but to be able to provide with pride for my child was really just so eye-opening. And so we're really proud to be able to say like, hey, you have WIC, you might also have SNAP. Let's make sure you use this WIC as that first dollar so you can get as much food as possible to feed your baby.
And how does that work? So beyond like scanning items to make sure they meet the qualification for WIC, are there certain ways that you communicate with families
So yeah, primarily it's all an app, which is really, really helpful. And the other thing too, we have a barcode scanner that works even without internet signal. So you walk into a store, you lose signal like 20 feet in, the barcode scanner still works. So you're still able to actually get the information that you need based on your benefits. We do also send monthly emails out to families kind of with news or updates that are relevant. So for example, when there was the SNAP EBT theft recovery program that ended in December, we're able to tell families, hey, please take advantage, make sure that you're able to really get all the supports that you need now. Again, it's sometimes really confusing when you hear 10 million things on the news, like, okay, I think there's a program here or there, but we really tailor this information to be accessible for families.
So back to you, how did you get into this kind of work? And was it through like the tech route, nutrition?
The fun answer is bureaucracy. Um, and so I say that jokingly, but I do introduce myself as like, I'm Dani, I'm from the Bronx, I'm a recovering former bureaucrat. And so this is coming from, again, being a child of a single immigrant mom. We're survivors of domestic violence. And so one of the big things is trying to get that financial and material stability so that you can actually have safety. And so being the oldest of two, I was translating between English and Spanish a lot, but also just became a really good translator of systems. I was good at finding resources. I was good at using the library, and all the like physical infrastructure of New York City opened that up. And so eventually professionally, what I did was focus on benefits access. So I actually became a financial aid administrator, ran Excelsior, which is kind of the state college promise scholarship for the largest population in New York City, worked at CUNY and Columbia, but was still like coming into the fact that our institutions aren't meeting whole needs of those that we're trying to serve. And that's kind of hard to break away from. And so I would, in the evenings, just do all these workshops saying, okay, what are the things that our communities need to know? But it's really frustrating running a 90-minute workshop that doesn't necessarily meet everyone's needs and accessibilities. So we started looking into how we could leverage tech and design to make things personalized and not just accessible, but actionable. And so through that work is where I landed in the fellowship at Blue Ridge Labs at the Robin Hood Foundation, which is where our whole team met. And we come from all disciplines. We have a product manager, a product designer, a CTO, who actually is a postpartum doula themselves. And we're an all women and trans team. So it's really amazing to kind of bring in all our stories together to make this work for families.
Was there a certain aha moment when you were working in these roles where you were fighting bureaucracy before you co-founded Lulo?
Yeah, 1,000%. And it was this realization that, I mean, this is common in all kind of social service sectors, right? Where sometimes the tools that you're given to do the job aren't the most helpful, and the caseloads that you have relative to staffing aren't particularly high, and so the balance doesn't quite work out. And so it can be really challenging to basically have to try to do cleanup when students come like super late. They got the runaround, they talked to the wrong person, asked the wrong question. And to realize how much of this was preventable, like if just people had the relevant information, knowing who to ask, what, when, and where ahead of time, right? None of this is rocket science, would have just avoided people losing so much money and would have been able to help them access more resources. So it's that kind of motivation of let's be more proactive and lean into the tech that we have to do that.
Could you walk me through a bit of the timeline? When did you leave that world and kind of get together with other folks at the Robin Hood Foundation? And when did you guys launch Lulo?
Yeah. So I guess my last full-time role was at Hunter running Excelsior until I'm going to say like fall of 2022. It was a realization of, wow, I'm literally one of two people running state aid for a school of over 20,000. These numbers are not sustainable. And then later in that summer is when we started the fellowship at Blue Ridge Labs. And that's where our whole team met. So summer of 2023, did about like a year or so of work and then launched Lulo first as like a web app in May around actually Mother's Day of last year. Did some launches in Brownsville. We work really closely with United for Brownsville, here in Morrisania, and in Harlem as well. And we got the feedback of families, we want an app. We want something that we can use more consistently in store. And that's when we launched Lulo as it is now in September, and where we've reached over 2,000 families throughout the state.
Wow. Remind me how big your team is.
We're a team of 4. So it's we all kind of dip our hats into everything. That's kind of the upside of startup life, right? Like you're really, as a small team, trying to learn as much as you can wherever you can. And so it's a privilege to be able to work with families like mine. Like so I was a WIC baby, and also work with folks who are at the WIC level at CBOs, who are also in my other positions and roles and with advocates as well. So it's such a hands in on all the pots.
And what would you say was the greatest challenge, while having your hands on all these pots?
I think, right, one of the biggest challenges for all entrepreneurs, right, is just this idea of you're creating your own structure, and it's hard sometimes without a playbook, right? So you're like, I'm kind of going and trying to figure things out, and it can be really easy to run into burnout, especially when it's something that you care about so deeply, and especially at this moment in time, right? Like when all of these programs are under attack, there is this pressure of, okay, we must do as much as we can, but also this recognition that has come over the last year of, hey, we need to also be balanced and take care of ourselves. Otherwise, we're not able to do this work and sustain ourselves for our communities.
Yeah, when there was that temporary freeze on some of these programs, was there certain concerns you were hearing from the communities you guys serve?
Yeah, 1,000%. And two notes. One was just, is WIC still funded? Which thankfully, yes, it was. But the bigger concern was really around what is called the public charge test or rule. So this idea that if families who are in the immigration process use certain benefits, they will essentially be docked points, and their chances of getting either a green card or citizenship go down. And so this was also a problem in 2016 under the first Trump administration. And this caused a lot of Latino and immigrant communities to stop using the WIC program, even though WIC is never part of that. So we actually made it a big point in our January newsletter to say, hey, this is the public charge rule, WIC, SNAP, none of these resources are counted against you. Make sure to feed your families, and made those resources available in English and in Spanish, again, to really try to tap into word of mouth, because it can be so hard to have trust in this day and age, especially for our communities. And so we want to say, hey, we are not the government. We don't have access to XYZ information. We literally just save your email address.
What would you say are some of the biggest challenges you still face today?
Yeah, it's definitely, as a small team, trying to amplify and reach as many people as possible, which is why getting to be on Epicenter is just really incredible, to just share our work and be able to tap into this idea of things might be dark now, but there is real innovation and resilience happening. And let's spread that news and let's reach more families.
And as a new app, how did you get buy-in from, established nonprofits like Hunger Free NYC, who I believe you partner with?
So Hunger Free NYC was an early research partner. So they're also a grantee of the Robin Hood Foundation. But yeah, our official partners include definitely advocate organizations like the Schuyler Center, Citizens Committee for Children of New York City, United for Brownsville. And it does come in from this ecosystem approach of, look, we're all here for the same reason of we want to uplift and support our communities, make sure that everyone has that food. These are all federal dollars. So nearly 40% of WIC benefits are unredeemed, over $1 billion a year in food that doesn't make it to families. It is in all our interests to make sure that families get that, but also in a way that decreases the burden on those frontline staff that don't often have the support that they need. So that's what a tech tool can really do, increase impact and decrease cost.
And what brings you the most joy in the work you do?
A tie of just hearing the feedback from moms like, oh my God, this is like WIC shopping isn't a headache. It's not miserable anymore. Like just hearing that validation of, look, we are, in my view, like the main things that Lulo is doing is, one, materially improving people's lives, more food, less time, being able to claim some of that back, and changing this expectation about what we think our communities deserve. We're really proud that Lulo is a beautiful, easy to use tool. Families have been like, oh my God, the color scheme, all these design elements are wonderful. And just showing that, hey, we can create solutions ourselves. We don't need to wait. And it's what makes us so effective, right, is having that community buy-in and support. So whenever we hear that feedback from even WIC staff, like, oh my God, you saved us so much time, this is so helpful, that's what keeps me going.
Yeah. And then if you could speak to any advice you have for other entrepreneurs launching their own products.
Yeah. I cannot emphasize this enough. Like the two pieces are strong community and supports. It can be a really lonely journey. I think one of the things that has really kept me going is Communitas, which is a BIPOC-focused incubator up in Harlem. And so BIPOC and women of color, and then Camelback Ventures, which I recently was a part of. And so really being able to have those people to just have thought partnership and also just to be able to talk about how hard it can be sometimes and lonely, but still get that energy out to fill your cup to keep taking us on to the next day.
Yeah. And on your website, there's a note that currently Lulo is only available in New York, but people can let you know about other states you might want to see Lulo. Could you speak about any plans to expand Lulo or other plans for the future?
Yeah, no, we're definitely in conversations with, at this point, 3 other states to see where we can expand. We have through just like word of mouth sharing, moms on TikTok have just been all over the place, over 8,000 downloads and have at least a 15-state wait list. So it shows that this pain point is really hitting on a very deep level and that what we're doing resonates. So we're excited to see where we can work across the nation, but also here in New York. Like there's almost 500,000 WIC participants here. We're excited to work with the state and just cities across New York to say, hey, innovation happens here. Let's feed our families.
Yeah. And then I'm just curious what your mom or, other folks in your family think of this, especially given the personal connection you have with the service.
Yeah. My mom is really proud, which is like just like a whole nother level. And if it wasn't for her, I definitely would not be here. And like she also is a nurse now. So she is like constantly sharing with people at the laundry, like, hey, do you have WIC? To have her as like my biggest champion is just incredible. And is also just such a like immigrant pride Latina story. So I'm really honored to be able to, I think, build something that I wish my mom would have had.
That's amazing. Where can folks find you?
Best thing to do is follow us on TikTok, share us widely. We also have a website, hellolulo.com. And then as usual, the LinkedIns, because we need to be linked into each other.
If you want to learn more about Lulo or refer someone who could benefit, head to hellolulo.com. You can also follow them on Instagram at hello.lulo or reach out directly by emailing contact@hellolulo.com. You can find all these links and more in our show notes. And if today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend. We'd also love to hear from you. Leave us a review or reach out to us at hello@epicenter-nyc.com. That's all for today. Thanks for listening and thanks for supporting us as we do our best to support our community. We couldn't do it without you. For more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at epicenter-nyc.com. Our intro music is All the Pretty Horses by Caravika. You can find more of their music on their website, linked to in our podcast description.